The Star Keys, Chapter 1. Timka's Ordinary Morning. Timka lived in a regular 9-story panel apartment building on the eastern edge of the city. The morning was like any other. His mom called him to the table. His dad loudly talked about traffic and roads, and their cat Morka meowed for food. Timka gulped down cocoa, took a bite of his sandwich, and stuffed his notebooks into his backpack on the run. But while searching for his backpack, his hand felt something heavy and metallic in the closet. It was a strange key, shiny, cold, with threads etched in star symbols that shimmered slowly, as if breathing. "Mom, did you put something in my backpack?" he called out. "Nothing but a sandwich," she replied. Timka hid the key in his pocket and ran to school. He didn't yet know that this morning would be the start of his first real adventure. Chapter 2. The Secret of the School Attic. The school seemed normal, with dull bells, a math test, and lunch of noodles with gravy. But Timka couldn't stop thinking about the key. He kept touching his pocket where the strange item lay, and he felt it was warm, alive. After classes, he waited until the school halls emptied and headed for the attic stairs. They were usually locked, but the padlock was gone. The door creaked open easily. The attic greeted Timka with dust, cobwebs, and the scent of old books. But in a far corner, behind a pile of broken desks, he saw a wall he'd never noticed before. It wasn't brick like the others, it was smooth stone with an indentation in the middle. The key in his pocket trembled. Timka pulled it out, inserted it into the groove. Click. The wall slowly parted, revealing a dark passage. Chapter 3. The Academy Beneath the School. Behind the wall was a round hall, its walls glowing with a soft blue light. The ceiling was domed, and a projection of a starry sky revolved above. In the center stood a console like the control panel of a spaceship. Suddenly, a hologram of an old man appeared with a white beard and floating glasses. "Welcome, Keeper," he said. "I am the archivist of the Star Academy. You found the first key. That means the time has come." "Time for what?" Timka asked, eyes wide. 7 worlds are in danger. You must find the remaining 6 keys and restore balance. Each key opens a portal to another world. But only the chosen can pass the trials. "Me? The chosen one?" Timka straightened up. "Yes, but beware. Not everyone in those worlds seeks salvation." With those words, the old man vanished, and 7 glowing dots lit up on the console map. Timka pressed the first one. A portal opened before him. He stepped into it. Chapter 4. The Mechanophorus World. Timka landed in a forest, but not an ordinary one. The tree branches were made of shiny metal, and the leaves were thin plates that jingled in the wind. The air smelled of oil and ozone. A girl in a jacket with zippers and a robotic dragon tail leapt out from behind a bush. "You're not from around here," she said, squinting. "I'm Timka. I'm looking for a key." "Then head for the heart of the forest. But be ready, it defends itself." Her name was Lynn. She showed Timka how to ride a flying platform and how to avoid patrolling rust wolves. Together they reached the center of the forest where a giant tree with a crystal core stood. To get the key, they had to repair a broken mechanism beneath the tree. Timka used his knowledge of gears from his toy sets, and the mechanism whirred to life. From the tree's trunk, the second key emerged. "Remember," said Lynn, "the keys don't just open doors. They test your heart." Chapter 5. The Sand Planet. This time, Timka found himself in an endless desert. The yellow sun burned down, the sand scorched his soles, and the sky was veiled with gray dust clouds. He was quickly sinking into quicksand when a gust of wind pulled him free. A boy stood before him wearing light desert clothes with a hood. His hair blew in the wind and his eyes were bright green. "You almost became lunch for a sand vortex," he chuckled. "I'm Zoo. You're here for the key, huh?" Timka nodded, and Zoo led him to a sacred mountain, atop which lived a sand creature, a giant bird with feathers made of quartz and amber. It guarded the third key hidden in its nest. To reach the peak, Timka had to cross a bridge made of wind and solve a riddle the bird asked. "What can lift a mountain but never touch the ground?" "Hope," answered Timka. The bird spread its wings and gave him the third key. "Courage isn't not being afraid," Zoo said. "It's moving forward even when you are." Chapter 6. The Ice Tower. The next world greeted Timka with silence. Everything was frozen: rocks, trees, even the air itself. On a mountain peak stood a tower made of pure blue ice. Timka pushed through the blizzard until he reached its base. The door had no lock, only a mirror. When he looked into it, he saw not his face but his fears, being alone, making mistakes, losing his mom. The door opened only when he whispered, "I'm not afraid to be myself." Inside stood Eler, a tall man with eyes like icicles. "To get the key, you must answer 3 questions," he said. "Not with your mind, but your heart." The questions were strange. What is lighter, silence or music? What is warmer, ice or tears? What is stronger, fear or memory? Timka answered, "Music, because it lives in us. Tears, because they come from the heart. Memory, because it stays forever." Eler nodded and gave him the 4th key. "The most important things aren't what we hold," he said, "but what lives within us." Chapter 7. The City of Sounds. The portal brought Timka to a city where everything sang and chimed, even the stones. Music brought houses, streets, and bridges to life, making it feel like a never-ending celebration. There he met Noda, a girl with a silver voice and a smile that could melt ice. She explained that the city had forgotten its ancient melody, the key to the 5th key. To find it, Timka and Noda journeyed through a labyrinth of sounds and played the forgotten song on an ancient organ. Together, their voices created magic, and in return, a crystal key rang into existence. "Music is the language of hearts," said Noda. "Remember that." Chapter 8. The Mirror Dimension. This world was strange and upside down. Words sounded backward, gravity flipped everything, and people met their reflections. Timka met himself, but it wasn't a mirror. It was him, but different, rude, lazy, selfish. Mirror Timka tried to stop him, saying adventures were a waste of time. To move forward, Timka realized he didn't have to fight, he had to understand and accept his reflection, fears and all. When he hugged Mirror Timka, the reflection smiled and gave him the 6th key. Loving yourself is the first step to great things. Chapter 9. The Last Key and the Fall of the Academy. Timka returned to the academy, but it was no longer the same. Shadows twisted the walls, the starry ceiling cracked. The archivist was gone, and in his place stood a hooded figure with glowing red eyes. "You've collected all the keys," he rasped. "Now choose, give them to me and I'll rule the worlds, or fight for their freedom." Timka felt a fire burn inside. He summoned the power of the keys and began the battle. Light and shadow, sound and silence clashed. Friends from every world helped Lin, Zoo, Noda, and even Mirror Timka. In the end, through friendship and courage, Timka won. The dark figure vanished and the academy shone again. Chapter 10. Home. With the keys in hand, Timka returned to his school. Everything seemed normal, but now he knew, wonders lie behind the ordinary. Mom called him to dinner, Dad shared his day, and Murka dozed on the windowsill. Timka took out the 1st key and smiled. This was just the beginning, he thought. and in his heart a new light ignited, the light of adventure and endless discovery.